So warmly welcome, and the same applies to you. You may resume your seat. We have students from the Asoko Esaman DA Model Basic School. There are 156. 156. I think that's a record number so far, and they come all the way from Shama constituency. You all know where Shama is. Shama is a very famous town. They are led by one of their teachers by name Emmanuel Ousu Mafu. Please, you are more than warmly welcome, because your number is so overwhelming. 156, and coming from that long distance, I'm sure that some costs will be incurred in bringing you here. I hope the Member of Parliament is available. And unfortunately for her in Parliament, she's a Minister of State, and she will be caught by the other arm, the executive arm, so she is not available. She will have taken advantage of it. So you are warmly welcome. I'm happy to see you. As I said, Shama is a great town. Follow up his homework. Go and research. Why is it that Speaker is saying Shama is a great town? I hope to hear from the leader of the delegation here, Emmanuel Ousu Mafu. Are you with me? You are there? I want to hear from you. Okay? I could assist you, maybe it's part of the education. Thank you so much for leading them here, and our congratulations to the school. You may resume your seat. The last group is the University of Ghana. University of Ghana Northern students. I'm sure it's not properly captured, because I don't understand that. The University of Ghana Northern students. It's not properly captured. And or that's the name of the university. Because I'm told that you are coming from the Ayawaso West constituency, and you are led by the president by name Samuel Yompang Sebiri. You are 45 in number. Please, you are warmly welcome. You are quite mature, and I'm sure you learned a lot from this visit than maybe the younger ones. It's unfortunate today is the resumption of Parliament, and so we may not have the opportunity to go through all the motions for you to learn more. So find time to come back again and get your group properly captured for our records. Well, University of Ghana Northern students is not too clear. I know we used to have Northern Students Union. Northern Students Union. And now the Northern Students Union will be composed of our students from 5 regions. Is that the case? Yes. And so we get to understand that. But when you say University of Ghana Northern students, I don't understand that. So you are welcome. You may find time to meet your leaders, and maybe my good self, if you need some more information. You may resume your seats. Honorable members, we move on to the next item, which is captured here as formal communication by the Speaker. I want us to take advantage of that item to welcome members back from the long recess. And so I want to give opportunity to the minority leader, or I should say the minority bench, to have the first bite before the majority front bench, and then I'll give my welcome remarks. So may we do so now? Yes. Minority leader. Yes, please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for the opportunity to deliver this statement on behalf of the Minority Leader, Osahi Alexander Kwamena Afenyo-Markin. Right Honorable Speaker, Alban Sumana Kingsford Babi, I rise on the commencement of the second meeting of the second session of the Ninth Parliament, and I welcome you back to the chair. I also warmly welcome honorable colleagues and the staff of the Parliamentary Service back from recess. Through this chamber, I greet the people of Ghana, the sovereign owners of this democracy, in whose name we all sit here. Mr. Speaker, Parliament sits in the middle of the nation's life, and the life of this nation in the weeks just past has been a story of failure, scandal, and the deepening suffering of millions of Ghanaians who place their trust in a government that has not earned it. The minority does not take stock of the nation to score points. We do so because when the executive fails, Parliament must speak. When the government will not answer, this House must ask. And when power is abused, it is our duty to say so clearly and without apology. What we witnessed during recess was a government that drove our central bank deeper into historic losses, brought back the darkness of doomsday, and sent armed officers to arrest citizens for saying so. Disgraced Ghana before the African continent at a sports event it had 2 years to organize. Handed $1 billion national assets to the president's own brother through a process it cannot defend, and stood largely helpless as our citizens were attacked abroad. These are not opposition allegations. They are documented facts. This House deserves a full account of every one of them, and I have 10 matters to place before Parliament today. Mr. Speaker, days before we reconvene, our colleague, the Honourable Member for Asante-Achim North, was detained at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam in connection with allegations of financial crimes involving International Investigative Corporation. Parliament confirmed the incident on May 12 through a statement from the Clerk of Parliament. We understand that the government, Parliament, and our mission in The Hague are engaged in securing legal representation and consular support. We acknowledge those steps, but they are not sufficient. This arrest has inflicted deeply damaging blow to Ghana's international reputation. Our country's name has been dragged through European headlines in a manner that reflects poorly on this parliament and this nation. The government must respond to this as what it is, a crisis with serious reputational consequences for Ghana. We call on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Speaker's Office to intensify engagement, deploy a senior diplomatic presence, brief this House regularly, and issue a formal statement on managing the international fallout. Silence and routine would not suffice. On innocence, until proven guilty, the minority is unequivocal. Anybody who says Dumso is not back is living in a cuckoo land. Our flag bearer described these events on May 13th as an endless assault on the fundamental rights of MPP officers and supporters that is setting Ghana's democracy backwards. He is right. Any government that deploys security forces against citizens for political opinion has lost its democratic bearing. Today, it is the MPP. Tomorrow, it could be anyone who dares to disagree. I call on the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of CID to immediately review all such cases and release every detainee held without solid legal justification. And I call on Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice to fulfill his constitutional role and direct the security services accordingly. They serve the people of Ghana. They do not serve the ruling party. Mr. Speaker, those arrests were designed to suppress the very crisis they exposed. Dumso is back. It is back under a government that campaigned loudly on ending it. Communities across this country are once again enduring prolonged, unpredictable power cuts. Businesses are hemorrhaging money. Hospitals are under strain. Children are studying by candlelight in a country that generates its own electricity. The economic cost is estimated at $320 million per year in lost output alone. The Akosombo Power Control Center fire and the Greco's CEO suspension raised by the caucus in April were documented warning signs that were not addressed with the urgency they deserved. The result is that Ghanaians are again sitting in darkness. And this government answers was to arrest the people who said so. The result is that Ghanaians are again sitting in darkness. The Minister for Energy must appear before this House with a credible, costed, time-bound plan to end load sharing. Not a press release, a plan that this House can hold the government to. Mr. Speaker, on May 1st, the Bank of Ghana published its audited 2025 accounts. The numbers are alarming. The bank declared a net operating loss of 15.63 billion cedis and an additional loss of 19.3 billion cedis. Together, that is a staggering 34.9 billion cedis. This 34.9 billion cedis has moved the bank's negative equity position from 58.62 billion cedis to 93.82 billion cedis. That means Central Bank owes more than 93 billion cedis more than it owns. Even the 15.63 billion cedis headline conceals a worse reality. 9.6 billion cedis of the reported income came from selling Ghana's gold reserves. Remove that and the bank would have recorded a 4 billion operating deficit. This government sold 50% of Ghana's gold reserve before it could reduce the quantum of the original loss and achieve policy solvency. Meanwhile, the bank paid 14.61 billion cedis in interest to private commercial banks in 2025 alone. Banks that were posting record profits while our central bank hemorrhaged public money. During the year 2025, when the minority warned this government of its wearisome monetary policy measures, the majority dismissed them. We were told that the losses on gold trading were not significant enough to spark a national alarm. When we warned about the policy reversals causing huge losses on the sterilization program, they were initially denied, only for the BOG, Bank of Ghana accounts to show the true volume of the losses later. Mr. Speaker, 93.82 billion cedis in negative equity at the institution that issues our currency is not a footnote. It is a crisis. Restoring equity to the statutory minimum will cost approximately 9.1 billion over 6 years. That is money that could have been used to build schools, hospitals, and farms. The Finance and Economic Committees must convene an urgent joint hearing with the government present. The recapitalization plan must be published, and this House must be updated regularly on the recapitalization process and the instruments being used before any further harm is done to the bank. Mr. Speaker, contrary to government's PR that the IMF program has ended, the truth is that this government has only transitioned from ECF program that has ended and signed up for a new program known as PCI program. This is the mark of a country that the IMF believes still requires supervision. It remains to be seen whether this government will be able to sustain the results in the framework that was negotiated by previous MPP administration. While the NDC is quick to claim the 2023 program was derailed, let me remind them that the IMF said no such thing. Indeed, it was their 2014 program that was described as off track by the IMF. What is important going forward is that Ghanaians expect that hikes in utility tariffs, escalating cost of living, and new taxes will be a thing of the past. Rather, the stability of the exchange rate is what the people expect, even now that the ECF is over. Right, Honorable Speaker, before I come to the xenophobic attacks in South Africa, I must place something on record. The steps that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs subsequently took on this matter did not arise in a vacuum. They arose, at least in part, because of the sustained pressure mounted by the minority caucus, and critically because of the intervention of minority leader made at the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja during the first ordinary session of 2026, running from May 4 to 17, in his capacity as the third Deputy Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament. Speaking under Rule 71 on matters of urgent public importance, he raised the xenophobic attacks on Ghanaians and other West Africans in South Africa, the massacre of our tomato traders in Burkina Faso, the severing of the Ghana-Mali trade corridor, and the broader crisis of citizens' protection across the sub-region. The ECOWAS Parliament subsequently ordered its Committee on Political Affairs to investigate the attacks. That is parliamentary advocacy at the regional level, doing precisely what it's meant to do. And it is a rebuke, however indirect, to a Ministry of Foreign Affairs that requires sustained external pressure before it acted with the urgency that these matters demanded. Let me now set out the record of what the ministry has done and what remains undone. On South Africa, Minister Ablakwa spoke with Foreign Minister Lamola on April 22nd. On April 23rd, he summoned South Africa's acting commissioner and formally registered Ghana's protests. On May 6th, he petitioned the AU Commission to place xenophobic attacks on the agenda of the 8th mid-year coordination meeting in El Alamein in June. On May 12th, the president approved the evacuation of 300 Ghanaians. These were the right steps. But, Mr. Speaker, several of them came somewhat belatedly. The attacks began in late April. Ghanaians were being harassed, displaced, and assaulted. A prompter and more forceful initial response was warranted and expected. Ghana must now build a coalition of African states before June 24th AU summit. If we arrive without allies, South Africa's diplomatic machinery will outmaneuver us and reduce this to migration management conversation. The minister must brief this House on his coalition strategy before the date. On returnees, a flight home is not a policy. The minority demands the minister brings to this House for legislative approval and parliamentary oversight a comprehensive economic and social reintegration plan for all Ghanaians evacuated from South Africa. That plan must address emergency housing, financial support, business reintegration, psychological care, and a pathway to build what violence destroys. Parliament must approve and oversee its implementation. We will not allow this to become another government program that exists on paper and disappears in practice. On early warning, Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time Ghanaians have been attacked abroad. It will not be the last unless we build systems that can see danger coming. The ministry must establish and present to this House a formal early warning and early response framework for the protection of Ghanaians outside our borders. That framework must include intelligence sharing, protocols with our missions, real-time monitoring of security conditions in countries with significant Ghanaian populations, and clear coordination triggers that activate protective actions before crisis escalates into catastrophe. Mr. Speaker, I must now raise two further crises involving Ghanaians abroad. That is, House has not heard enough. The first is the massacre of our tomato traders in Burkina Faso. On February 14, 2026, jihadist militants from the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group JNMI ambushed a truck carrying Ghanaian tomato traders in Tatao. They are in the Lorum province of northern Burkina Faso. The attackers separated the men from women. They executed the men. They set the vehicle ablaze with the driver still inside. 8 Ghanaians were confirmed killed. The bodies had decomposed so severely by the time our mission could respond that burial had to be proceed locally with DNA samples taken for future identification. 8 women survived. The survivors attended the burial in place of our diplomatic mission, which could not travel to Tatao because the area remained too dangerous. The minority leader raised this atrocity on the floor of ECOWAS Parliament and called for an ECOWAS civilian protection framework for traders and workers in conflict zones. The Ghana-Mali trade corridor has since been effectively severed following a major JNIM offensive on April 25th that targeted multiple Malian cities. Our traders are caught between food security imperatives and war zones. That is not acceptable, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must come before this House and account fully for what it has done, what it is doing, and what it plans to do to protect Ghanaians who travel these routes to make a living. The second is the Gulf crisis. On April 28, 2026, the United States and Israel carried out joint military strikes on Iran, triggering retaliatory missile attacks across the Gulf. Ghanaian nationals in Bahrain, Israel, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Emirates were placed directly in harm's way. The ministry activated an emergency preparedness plan and then began a partial evacuation of our Tehran embassy. Minister Ablakwa met separately with the heads of mission of the United States, Israel, and Iran in Accra to assess the situation. Ghana's embassy in Israel identified 922 Ghanaian nationals in that country, including 65 students. Evacuation plans were developed and, where possible, activated. Mr. Speaker, the Gulf crisis exposed in stark terms the vulnerability of tens of thousands of Ghanaians who live and work in conflict-adjacent regions. Many are in debt bondage, unable to leave even when their safety demands it. The ministry must brief this House comprehensively on the current status of all Ghanaians in the Gulf region. The number evacuated, the number still there, the support provided, and the framework for protecting them if hostility resumes. This Parliament will not allow our citizens' safety to be managed in silence. Right, Honorable Speaker, the award of Daman Mine Lease to Engineers and Planners Company Limited, owned by Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, the younger brother of the President John Dramani Mahama, raises the most serious constitutional questions of this administration's tenure. When Goldfields of South Africa exited the mine, the government initiated what is called a competitive bidding process. The minority is constrained to call it what it is, a questionable transaction dressed in the language of due process. The lease was awarded on April 7, 2026. The handover was performed on April 18. The mine's value is estimated at between $600 million and $1 billion. The government's defense is that President Mahama recused himself from the cabinet meeting that considered this matter. Government spokesperson Honorable Felix Kwachi Ofosu has confirmed this publicly, and supportive voices have praised it as the right action. Mr. Speaker, this Parliament must reject that argument firmly. A single absence from a cabinet room does not cleanse a fundamentally compromised process. Let us be precise. The President is the appointing authority for the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who performed the handover ceremony. He appointed the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, which supervised the process. He appointed every institutional decision maker who handled this transaction from beginning to the end. They all hold office at his pleasure. He can appoint them and he can remove them. And we are told that stepping out of one cabinet room while his own appointees carry the transaction to its conclusion satisfies the constitutional requirement. That is not recusal. That is delegation. It is outsourcing a conflict of interest to the very people who owe their positions to the person with the conflict. There is more. While all of this unfolded, the President was using his brother's private jet for official travel. The government's own spokesperson confirmed that maintenance, pilots, and crew costs were borne by Ibrahim Mahama personally. The President's brother was absorbing real financial costs on behalf of the head of state. At the very same time, state institutions were evaluating and awarding $1 billion asset to that same brother. The conflict is not perceived. It is actual, direct, and documented. Mr. Speaker, this House has both the authority and the duty to act. The minority calls on the Parliament to immediately establish a full parliamentary probe into the Dama mine transaction. The Lands and Natural Resources Committee must be the instrument of that probe. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, and every official who handled this transaction must be summoned. Full bid documentation, evaluation criteria, scoring sheets, and the beneficial ownership declaration of all bidding entities must be produced. The committee must report its findings to the full House. Ghana's gold belongs to the people of Ghana. This Parliament will not allow $1 billion national asset to pass to a presidential relative behind the thin curtain of a single cabinet recusal. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana hosted the 24th African Senior Athletics Championship at the University of Ghana Stadium in Lagos from May 12 to 17. We won the hosting rights in June 2024. We had nearly 2 full years to prepare for this event. 2 years. And the result was an international embarrassment of the first order. It was a case of crass incompetence. that has damaged Ghana's standing as a host nation before the eyes of the entire African continent. Athletes arrived to find no blankets on their beds and were told they were expecting to bring their own. Food provision was so poor that athletes were described as having to compete for meals. Timing systems broke down on the very first day, leaving competitors without knowledge of their own finishing times. The media center had no internet access. Accreditation was a shambles. Transport failed for hours at a time. A gold medalist from South Africa went viral across international platforms, not for his gold medal, but for his public complaints. I expected a hotel at least. When we got into the rooms, the beds were leather. We got sheets, a pillow, but no blankets. We were told we were supposed to bring our own coats. Mr. Speaker, Ghana invited the continent to our home. We had 2 years and we could not provide blankets. This is not a logistical hiccup. That is a systemic failure of planning, management, and accountability at the sports ministry. Now I link this directly to something with even higher national stakes. In less than 1 month, Ghana's Black Star faced Panama in Toronto in our opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. On June 23rd, they faced England in Boston. On June 27th, Croatia in Philadelphia. The sports minister has publicly set targets to surpass Ghana's historic 2010 quarter-final performance. Coach Carlos Queiroz has told his squad 40 days to honor the pride, passion, and dreams of Ghana. Absolute focus, maximum discipline, no distraction, no excuses. His technical staff compiled 200 individual videos, reports, and monitored 170 matches in a single month. The coach is doing his job at the very highest professional standards. The question this House must confront directly is this: can the same ministry that delivered the Legon disaster be trusted to provide the Black Stars with the professional support, logistics, and preparations they need and deserve for the World Cup? It is the same ministry, the same officials, the same institutional culture, and the evidence before us is not encouraging. The minority states this without equivocation. The level of incompetence that attended the African Athletics Championship must not manifest in Ghana's World Cup campaign. The stakes are too great. The eyes of the world are too many. The pride of too many Ghanaians is riding on those matches in North America. The minority accordingly calls for a full parliamentary investigation into the failures of the African Athletics Championship. The Minister for Youth and Sports must appear before the full House to face questions, not a committee hearing. Mr. Speaker, the full House, the scale of this embarrassment before the continent demands that level of accountability. Heads must roll when negligence is established. And the minister must present a written World Cup preparedness plan to Parliament for the end of, before the end of this month. Mohamed Kudus and the Black Stars earned Ghana a place at the World Cup. This House would not allow ministerial incompetence to follow them to North America. Right Honorable Speaker, senior NDC figures, including cabinet ministers, are openly positioning themselves to succeed President Mahama. Barely 16 months into this term, succession campaigning has become a visible, publicly discussed feature of this life inside this government. This has disturbed even voices within the ruling party. Most revealing was at the opinion piece published on May 5th in the Daily Graphic by Dr. Callistus Bahama, the President's own Executive Secretary, writing under the title, and I quote, "Before the race begins, a call for discipline, reflection, and duty." He warned, again quoting, "Barely a year and a half into this mandate, the conversation about succession in 2028 risks arriving before the foundation of recovery have even been firmly laid." He warned this amount to a quiet form of neglect. He concluded, "The clock is not yet ticking towards succession, it is ticking towards delivery." Mr. Speaker, when a sitting president's own secretary is driven to publish a national newspaper's appeal, begging colleagues to stop campaigning and govern, the country is not being governed by a full government. Ghana remains under an IMF program. Debt restructuring is incomplete. Doomsday is back. Farmers are in distress. The people appointed to solve these problems are focused on replacing the man who appointed them. The president must heed his own executive secretary and enforce real discipline. Ministers who cannot separate governing from campaigning should be asked to choose. Right Honorable Speaker, I flag additional matters requiring attention in this meeting. The outstanding report on the Akosombo fire and Gridco CEO suspension, the Ghana Gold Board operations, which will be addressed in dedicated minority statement, the acute distress of cocoa, cashew, and rice farmers who have received words but not action, and the creeping politicization of state institutions that this House must actively resist. The minority's 87 demands for this meeting are as follows. 1. All persons detained for exercising their right to free speech must be released immediately. 2. The Energy Minister must appear before this House with a credible doomsday plan. 3. The Finance and Economy Committees must hold an urgent joint hearing with the Governor of Bank of Ghana present. 4. The Foreign Affairs Minister must brief Parliament on the AU coalition strategy ahead of June 24th. Present a comprehensive returnee reintegration plan for parliamentary approval and oversight. Table an early warning and early response framework for the protection of Ghanaians abroad. Account fully for the Burkina Faso tomato traders massacre and brief this House on the status of all Ghanaians in the Gulf crisis. 5. This Parliament must establish a full parliamentary probe into the Diamond Mines transaction. The Lands and Natural Resources Committee must serve as the instrument of that probe. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, the Minerals Commission CEO, and all relevant officials must be summoned. Full bid documentation and beneficial ownership declaration must be produced, and the committee must find its findings to the full House. A full parliamentary investigation into the athletics championship failures must be initiated. The sports minister must appear before the full House, and a written World Cup preparedness plan must reach Parliament before the end of this month. 7, the President must enforce real and visible discipline over the succession campaign consuming his government. 8, diplomatic and legal engagement for our detained colleagues must be intensified, and the reputational damage to Ghana must be actively managed. In closing my remarks, Mr. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to close with a direct word to the people of Ghana. We see you. The families sitting in darkness because Dumto has returned under a government that promised to end it. The traders driven from their livelihoods in South Africa, the farmers watching their cocoa and cashew harvest yield returns that do not cover their costs. The citizens who walk to armed men at their door for posting a political opinion online. The students cramming their lessons by candlelight in a country that produces its own electricity. The families of the 8 massacred in Tatao who are still waiting for justice. We see every one of you. We hear you. And we will not be silent on your behalf. The people of Ghana deserves governance that is equal to their patience and their sacrifice. They deserve a government that is fully at work, fully focused, and fully accountable. What they have today falls far short of that standard. It is the duty of this minority and the duty of this House to say so clearly, to demand better loudly, and to use every constitutional tool available to us to compel accountability. That is our mandate. That is our promise to the people of Ghana. God bless Ghana, and God bless the people of Ghana. Thank you.
Honorable members, it's now the turn of the majority leader and leader of the House.
Right Honorable Speaker, my very good friend, the Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable Patricia Apiaje, is obviously rehearsing for her potential role as a running mate. With a few more rehearsals, I believe you will do better than Baumia in the forthcoming campaigns. It is with great humility and gratitude to the Almighty God and a deep sense of patriotism that I rise this afternoon to welcome honorable colleagues back to this August House to commence the second meeting of the second session of the Night Parliament. I will begin by expressing profound gratitude to Almighty God for His grace, protection, and mercies upon our beloved country. Although this country has been through many challenges and uncertainties, we continue to remain strong, serving as a beacon of hope and oasis of inspiration to others on the continent and beyond. Our democracy remains resilient and is growing stronger with the passage of each day. Our institutions continue to function effectively, albeit various challenges still persist. I am indeed confident that the hope and aspirations of our people, though tested, remains alive and fortified. Let me commend the Right Honourable Speaker and his deputies for their dedication and patriotism to the nation. The nation will always be in your debt for your selfless dedication in serving the motherland. I further acknowledge the efforts of leadership of the House and colleague members of Parliament. Though we were on recess, you were never on vacation. I monitored the work of MPs delivering in our various constituencies and at committees and various international events at which Ghana had to be represented. Some were mostly busy representing us at the activities of the regional ECOWAS and Pan-African parliaments. I believe your engagements in the constituencies, your various committee engagements with relevant stakeholders, and the exposure to international contemporary issues during this recess have better prepared you for the work ahead in this session. At this point, let me congratulate some of our colleagues who made us proud by being elected to key positions at the Pan-African Parliament during this recess. Honorable Dr. Zaneto Ajima-Rawlings, Her Excellency, was elected second Vice President, effectively the Deputy Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament. Honorable Frank Anodompre was elected Chair of the Health, Social Work and Labour Committee of the Western Caucus of the Pan-African Parliament. We wish you well in your new offices. We have no doubt that you will continue to showcase Ghanaian exceptionalism abroad. Right Honourable Speaker, we commence sitting at a profound moment of renewed hope and optimism in the country. Let me quote a post from Franklin Kujo of Imani, Ghana, about a week ago. Franklin Kujo writes, and please pay attention. Franklin Kujo writes, and I quote, "The fastest economic recovery in Ghana's history has been recorded." He says, the fastest economic recovery in Ghana's history has been recorded and achieved by version 2.0 of the Mahama-led government. This, after the most regressive, self-immolating policies of waste, mismanagement, and plunder the country has ever seen. This is the verdict. This is a verdict of civil society on the NPP regime. Franklin Kujo further states, key achievement, exit from the IMF program with star-studded earnings, rapid decline in inflation, a confident cedi, international reserves built back better, the quickest debt reduction from 65% to 45% of GDP in just 1 year. Buoyed by confidence, candor, and transparency, the government's finance team, competently led by Dr. Atuforsen, carefully choreographed how to work with the IMF program they inherited, even though it was badly bruised, broken, and mudbound from excessive hemorrhage following the twin shocks of the domestic debt exchange program, which amounted to the literal pickpocketing of the savings and investments by previous administrations. Mr. Speaker, in essence, the final apocalyptic collapse of the economy we witnessed in 2022 with all macroeconomic indicators gasping for air, was entirely avoidable. So what has changed this time with the exit plan from the IMF? A commitment never to return to the IMF after 3.5 years, the period we have been cursed through maladministration to return to the fund since independence in 1957. What is the PCI? It is a non-financial advisory and monitoring tool provided by the IMF. It allows the country to design and implement its own economic reforms without receiving a financial bailout, acting essentially as a global seal of approval for the government fiscal management. This masterstroke in economic diplomacy could not have been achieved without the backing of the president, whose mission this time around is legacy and respect. The president reads every document handed to him, often correcting grammatical mistakes before signing the country up to the contents. This is civil society verdict on this government, not NDC praising itself. So we can say, yes, stability has been achieved after the races with debt we experienced prior to 2025. Mr. Speaker, this House shares in the glory of this moment. This is because every policy, legislation, and appropriation needed to produce this successful story was carefully considered and approved by this House. I recall that we passed the Ghana Gold Board bill at 3 a.m. in the morning after sitting through the previous day. The government has indicated a plan to commit the nation to a policy coordination initiative with the IMF. This Parliament will once again be called upon to support the government with the appropriate policy, legislative, and appropriation approvals necessary to ensure that we never have to go back to the IMF within a short time after exiting their program like we have done since 1957. Mr. Speaker, we are therefore commencing this second meeting of the second session of the night Parliament at a time when a lot of work needs to be done to carry our nation's economy to where we want it. Committees must monitor agencies they superintend over to ensure continued discipline and conduct conducive to national progress. This is what Ghanaians expect of their parliament. The international community has continued to applaud the Ghanaian people for our strides in democratic governance. The recently released 2026 World Press Freedom Index tells a story of remarkable institutional redemption. Ghana has made a monumental leap, soaring to the 39th spot globally out of 180 countries, our highest ranking in over half a decade. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand before you to celebrate a profound democratic resurrection under the deliberate, rights-driven stewardship of the National Democratic Congress, NDC administration, led by His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama. We have fiercely reclaimed our heritage as a vanguard of free expression in this country. Right, Honourable Speaker, our democracy remains a work in progress. Even as we are applauded for doing so well, we seek perfection. That is why I once again urge honourable members to brace themselves for a heavy schedule of work this session, because the government is likely to bring before us a number of proposals for constitutional amendment pursuant to the work of the Constitution Review Committee. Government has worked on its position paper, which will inform the specific amendment proposals that might be brought before this Parliament in this session. A number of entrenched and non-entrenched provisions of our Constitution might be considered for amendment, and this House will play a crucial role. So today is not a mere constitutional ritual, but rather a solemn reminder of the sacred trust that is placed on us as the elected representatives of the people. Our office as the representatives of the people places us at a position where we are the hope of the farmer in Sombo, the trader at Makola, the market woman at Kejetia, the teacher at Fomena, the fisherman at Almina, the young entrepreneur in Akati South, the nurse in Hohoi, and all the youth and farmers of this country. As the elected representatives of the people, I beseech us never to lose sight of the fact that Parliament is not only a house of records and law, it is also the house where the hopes, aspirations, anxieties, and frustrations of the people are duly expressed and communicated to the government through questions, motions, debates, and statements. We, as the gatekeepers of democratic governance, must therefore work assiduously to meet the needs and aspirations of the people as we ensure the equitable distribution of national resources. Mr. Speaker, the various occurrences in the sub-region that threaten democratic governance and stability makes it imperative for us to govern accountably with honesty, maturity, patriotism, and national unity. While the country continues to enjoy peace and democratic stability, which is the envy of many, we must, however, acknowledge that our democracy has only matured through tolerance, dialogue, and institutional resilience. It is imperative for us to commend the Ghanaian people for their continued faith in democratic governance and constitutional order whilst working to meet their needs. Recently, the judiciary has come under attack by no less a person than the new Patriotic Party Minority Leader, Honorable Alexander Foyomakin. Let me repeat a caution given by this very Minority Leader in this chamber, that when you are not satisfied with a decision of a lower court, you appeal and seek redress in a higher court. In this day and age, we must strive to be consistent because records are kept of whatever you have ever said. I want to assure the judiciary that we on this side of the House have their backs covered. Mr. Speaker, we must equally acknowledge that public confidence and trust in governance is increasingly being measured not by speeches, but rather by tangible improvements in the living conditions of the people we serve. To this end, Ghanaians expect accountability, transparency, and responsive leadership. They expect Parliament to rise above partisan divisions whenever the need arises and rally around the desire to improve their lives and livelihood. We cannot fail them in this endeavor, and the trust they repose in us must be the fuel that energizes us to do more for the country and its people. This is a sacred trust we must uphold and deliver to the benefit of the citizenry. Mr. Speaker, we are not oblivious to the remaining myriad economic problems confronting us. A half-decade accumulation of jobless youth, a recovering private sector and financial institutions, a huge infrastructure deficit. Parliament must work with the executive branch of government to build on the recent economic successes to address these challenges. In this regard, I will ask all committees overseeing the economic sectors to ensure that ministers account to us regarding the measures taken to ensure local content policies in the various economic sectors. Jobs for which Ghanaians have the skills and competencies cannot be occupied by non-Ghanaians. Also, committees should ensure that factories are producing at full capacity and the domestic market is protected through ending smuggling of goods into the economy. Committees overseeing the security and revenue mobilization sectors must set up and ensure that smuggling is curtailed and proposals for tax reforms to help in that regard come before this House. We must ensure that pursuant to the ending of the IMF bailout program, we scrupulously scrutinize all appropriation proposals brought before us to ensure that public funds do not get wasted in unscrupulous consumption, but is invested in the productive sectors to create jobs and wealth for our unemployed youth. The last 1.5 years of economic management establishes the point that our economy does not lack. Our economy has only suffered from decades of inefficiency, waste, graft, and corruption. I can say with confidence, Mr. Speaker, that in the aftermath of our exit from the IMF program, the takeoff of the 24-hour economy will be accelerated to create the jobs we promised the youth of this country. The Minister of Finance will be in this House shortly to make a statement on the most recent economic developments, and this will give us an opportunity to debate the future direction of our country's economic governance. Government's quest to address the many challenges confronting the nation will see this meeting being packed with a number of businesses and activities. This is a working government, and looking at the agenda for this meeting, I can promise honorable colleagues that the House is going to get very busy as we have a number of public and private businesses to conduct. The following are the businesses that have been scheduled for the House to undertake during the meeting. 48 bills 48 bills, including Cybersecurity Authority and Data Protection bills, 26 instruments to be presented, statements, motions, and as usual, presentation of papers and reports. More so, there will be a number of committee sittings to consider many referrals. There will also be a number of site visits and familiarization tours that will be undertaken by the various sector committees to ascertain the works that are being done by the various ministries, departments, and agencies across the country. Although most of these site visits and familiarization tours were undertaken during the recess, I envisage more to be undertaken during the meeting. All these activities help Parliament to undertake its legislative oversight, financial control, deliberative, and representational functions. I know that we will rise to the occasion and that this meeting is going to be productive and fruitful in service to the people and the nation as a whole. Mr. Speaker, the Black Stars of Ghana, which is the men's senior national team, is representing the nation at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which starts from 11 June to 19 July 2026. As most of us know, this is the first time that the World Cup is being hosted by 3 different countries: the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. And we will see matches being played across 16 different cities. I will therefore take this opportunity to wish the Black Stars of Ghana all the best in their competitions. They have the full support of this Honorable House, by extension the entire nation. We have hope and confidence in their ability to deliver, and we know they will make us proud once again. May they lift the flag of Ghana higher during the tournament. We have all been formally informed of the detention of our colleague, the Honorable Member for Asante Achim North, Kwame Ohene Frimpong, at the Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam by Dutch authorities acting on a request for extradition by the United States of America based on a federal court warrant regarding an indictment in the courts of the United States of America. I urge Ghanaians to be circumspect in their comments regarding this matter, as all accused persons are innocent until proven guilty. We must not do anything to compromise the legitimate defenses available to our colleague. At this juncture, I will admonish my honorable colleagues on the other side that no parliament can operate without cooperation and collaboration. We must therefore learn to work together, majority and minority alike, for national development, prosperity, and progress. May we never forget that beyond political parties, beyond ideology, and beyond electoral competition, we remain one people with one destiny. History will judge this night Parliament not by the volume of our arguments, but by the quality of our contribution to national progress. Let me conclude by indicating to the Deputy Minority Leader that all the issues she has raised are legitimate matters for consideration by this House. I believe that this country is on the right path, promoting local ownership of the key sectors of our economy. The Damam Mine Agreement will definitely be brought to this House, and every aspect of it will be open to public scrutiny. And I can assure you, and the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is here, I can assure you that you will see clearly that everything was above board. I urge all MPs to be punctual and attend sittings on time so that we can achieve the legislative program of this session. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your kind indulgence.
Honourable members, you have heard from your leaders, the Minority Leader through the voice of the Deputy Minority Leader, has given you notice of their intention to dilate on a number of issues on the floor. This is clear advance notice. And so, as we give the welcome remarks, by our practice, we are permitted to do so, in spite of the fact that she took quite a long time. It's right for her to do so. The majority leader, as also leader of government business, has also given you an indication of the business that we are expected to transact, particularly public business. And so please, the call by him for members not only to be prompt, but to focus on the business of the House is a right call. As the head of the institution, I'll also have to warmly welcome you back to the second meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic. It's indeed my pleasure to see you all back, looking more than eager to share what you gathered and learned from your tours around the country and globally in furtherance of your legitimate parliamentary duties. I believe your interactions with your constituents and your colleagues all over the world have given you enough information and knowledge to be able to transact the business of the people in this House. I also trust that the recess afforded you the opportunity not just to only organize debates and rallies, talk shows and the rest, but also to have personal reconnection with your constituents and your colleagues all over the world. These are things that are meant to deepen the hope and commitment of our people to multi-party democracy, the best system that has been developed so far by humanity to govern itself. Honorable members, as we've been told, it's regrettable that one of the members of this House is alleged to be on the wrong side of the law. You've already been given the details. What I can add is that Parliament is working with government to ensure justice is done in this matter. I will in due course keep the House updated with developments in the matter. Meanwhile, permit me on your behalf to convey the empathy of the House to members of his family and his constituents for this unfortunate development, and to call on them to exercise restraint, for we are with them and we are doing everything to make sure that he is accorded all the due respect, dignity, and the opportunities available to all of us in international law. So please keep your cool and leave those who are involved. I'm happy that voluminous information has been given you as to the steps that have been taken by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, together with our mission in Holland. Honorable members, is it important, very, very important, for us to always remind ourselves that we are here as servants of the people. And it is important to keep uppermost in our minds that the power and authority we exercise as members of Parliament are delegated. The power and authority emanate from Ghanaians who, as expressed in the Constitution and other laws, place their trust and hope in us. Our actions, words, and decisions must therefore reflect and inspire that trust and hope. The Ghanaians have made it clear in the Constitution that nobody, and I repeat, nobody is above the law. Not even the Ghanaians that we represent. They are not above the law. So we, the representatives, are therefore not above the law. No privilege or immunity supersedes the law. For purposes of emphasis, MPs are not immune from the law. Apart from this, after we are elected, we are all made to swear oaths to commit ourselves to the law, to the trust and the interests of Ghana and Ghanaians above our personal or partisan interests. Please, let us recommit ourselves to these oaths, to among other covenants that are contained in the oaths. And I want to quote this: faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament, unquote. I'm saying all this because Ghanaians are getting very disturbed about the wanton abuse of the trust. As a speaker, I cannot be a complainant, a prosecutor, and a judge at the same time. My role and responsibilities are well cut out in the Constitution, the laws of Ghana, and the rules of the House. If I act otherwise, I'll be acting ultra vires. And the judiciary is there to call me to order. Please, I can't go beyond these appeals. You know the rules. I cannot take the decisions on the floor. You have to. I cannot participate in debate. I only have to guide you. This is not understood by our people, but you understand it very well. And so my role is not the role like that of the president, who is the head of the executive and has been specifically given the authority. The executive authority is enshrined in the president. It's not the same for the speaker. My role is not that of the Chief Justice. No, it's a different role to preside over proceedings in the House. To be the person responsible for the administration of the parliamentary service. I have the ultimate responsibility of the administration of the parliamentary service. What happens on the floor here, I am only to preside and guide you according to the rules, the practice, the conventions of Parliament. I can't go beyond that. Please, sometimes I feel so frustrated, but there's nothing more I can do. I can only call on you as honorable members to let us earn the title honorable. I learned early in life that a wise person does not need advice. I know you are all wise, so you don't need my advice. I leave it at that. Honorable members, the agenda for the meeting has already been communicated to you. We actually have a lot of public bills, but it's important I also draw your attention to a number of private bills pending in the House. Very, very key for the development of our democracy. The first is the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendment Bill 2025. This bill has been with Parliament since 2021. The Council of State has also submitted its advice to the House through me. I will process it for presentation to the House for reference to the appropriate committee for speedy consideration and report to the House. This is such a crucial bill that needs to be processed transparently to tap the collective wisdom of all stakeholders to ensure ownership and ease of implementation. You know, we did not complete this bill in the 8th Parliament, and as the 8th Parliament expired, it expired with all its business. And so these have to be reintroduced. And this is a private member's bill. So it has to go through the whole process, right up from the sponsors up to date. And the Constitution says we have to refer it to the Council of State. The earlier Council of State rendered its advice. This Council of State has also rendered its advice. And I have to bring that to the notice of the committee so that through the deliberation of the committee, we can do justice to the bill. I'll be compelled to give an opinion, which will also be referred to the committee, because this is a bipartisan bill, and all government policies, both the previous and the current government, are very supportive of the proposal. And so, honorable members, you have the support of both sides of the House, and I'll call on the committee, when it's referred to them, to expedite action in this matter. The second one is the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. You are aware the bill also went through the same process in the 8th Parliament. It has again to be reintroduced to go through the same process. And so it's taking time because we have to abide by the law. We also have the Property Rights of Spouses Bill 2025. And this bill has come before this House many, many, many times. Rather from the time I was even chairman of the Committee of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. But the challenges are real. And we have, in spite of the challenges, find solutions to those problems. We have before us, since 2022, the Parliamentary Transition Bill, which is now 2025. And that is a critical bill for the development of the institution of Parliament. particularly in transitioning from one parliament to the other. We passed law for the executive transition, but left that of parliament. And you know the challenges we face when we are having a transition, especially in 2021, when you had to go to almost a stalemate and fisticuffs in trying to get me elected as the Speaker of this House. We don't want to experience these kind of bad precedents again. We have also the Parliament Bill 2025. There are a lot of important ingredients in that bill that will assist us to regulate particularly the conduct and behavior of members, trying to instill ethics and rule of decent behavior when you are elected into public office. That is not all. Your attention has been drawn by the majority leader to numerous bills that are to be presented to the House. I won't go through them again because they are already on record. What I can do now is to urge all committees and honorable members to approach these matters with diligence, seriousness, and a spirit of cooperation. But let me single out this bill because of the reaction of the public to it. I'm talking about the Property Rights of Spouses Bill. Its passage is important for promoting fairness and protecting family stability. However, because of its sensitivity, we have given exceptional attention to it to deepen consultations with all stakeholders to ensure inclusiveness, consensus building, and a smooth path to implementation. You know the cleavages. The Muslim community are very clear in their minds that the Holy Quran has spelled out in details as to these matters of spousal rights, property rights of spouses. Please, the word spouse comes from the Latin word sponsus, which means betrothed. And so when we have law that gives opportunity to different groups to marry differently, and so you have the Mohammedan Marriage Act, and you also have that of the Christians, and you also have that of the traditional people. And now trying to talk about spousal property rights of spouses, you definitely meet challenges. It is not the failure of the Parliament of Ghana. It is a challenge for the country. And we have to meet each other halfway. So blame should not be placed on Parliament of Ghana because we don't decree laws. We pass laws that are acceptable by our people. And so please, the activists, take these things into consideration in trying to lay blame on Parliament of Ghana. We are equally very concerned about the lack of clarity of these matters. And the recent pronouncement of the courts is what has caused the concerns raised by the public. So please, I want to assure Ghanaians that Parliament remains committed to seeing this bill through in a manner that is just, pragmatic, and consensual. Parliament has also taken note of the concerns recently expressed by sections of the public and various stakeholders regarding the delay in the passage of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. We appreciate the keen public interest in this important legislation and acknowledge the expectations of the citizenry on the matter. As stakeholders may be aware, the committee responsible for the bill has concluded its public hearing and stakeholder engagements. In view of the significance of the bill and the need to advance the legislative process, I urge the committee to present its report for consideration and passage by the House before the end of this meeting. Very important. Honorable members, let me also inform you that our Parliament will host the Africa Family Values and Sovereignty Conference. It's taking place from the 3rd to the 5th of June this year. This continental gathering, first hosted by Uganda, seeks to celebrate and preserve our shared African cultural heritage, values, and sovereignty. I encourage members to participate actively in the conference. Further details on the conference will be communicated in due course. His Excellency the President will definitely be part of the opening of this conference. Before I conclude, let me appeal to all members to be punctual and fully engaged in our sittings. The workload, as we've been told, ahead of us is heavy, and our effectiveness depends on discipline, mutual respect, and teamwork. Let us pursue our debates with civility to enhance national pride. I end by drawing the attention of the public, particularly the security agents, that the Speaker is only informed of incidents involving members of Parliament as to whether they have gone on the wrong side of the law or not. It's not for the security agents to seek my permission before arrest. It's not. It's for them to inform me and include the circumstances or the allegations that has created the suspicion. Then I go through the law and then apply the law as to whether the person is in a privileged situation or is immune from what is taking place. I am saying this because there is some perception that they need the permission of the Speaker before a member can be apprehended or even invited to respond to inquiries. That is not the state of the law. Honorable members, with this, I thank all of you. Akwaba, Wezo, Marhaba, Yewayane, Obake, which is the new addition, because I learned of it recently, and we've been struggling to pronounce it. Obake. Definitely the owners of the landlords the landlords of this land, where we are now, must be given the due recognition and respect. So you are all welcome. I thank you for your attention. Honorable members, we have to go through the usual routine of at least correcting of votes and proceedings and the official reports. So we'll take that correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. We will start with the votes and proceedings of Friday, 27th March 2026, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16. Honorable members, in the absence of any correction, the votes and proceedings of the 32nd sitting, dated Friday, 27 March 2026, is adopted as a true record of proceedings. We will take I don't know whether members have it. We'll come to that. You have copies of the official reports of 25th March 2026, 26th March 2026, and 27th March 2026. Any corrections? Yes.
Speaker, my prayer is that we just received these 3 volumes and they are quite voluminous. So we want to pray you to come back tomorrow to do that so that we can quickly take business statements and lay a couple of papers and then we can bring today's proceedings to an end. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, that is the sense of the House. So we can accordingly defer the correction of this to tomorrow. I take it that is the sense of the House, and I so direct. Honorable members, we then move to the next item, which is business statements for the first week. And this will be presented by the majority leader, who is the chairman of the business committee.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the committee met today, Thursday, 21st May 2026, and arranged business for the House for the first week ending Friday, 22nd May 2026. The committee accordingly submits its report as follows. Formal communications may be made by the good self, Right Honorable Speaker. Statements may be made by ministers or members. Bills, papers, and reports may be presented, debated, considered through the various stages. Motions and resolutions may be debated and consequential resolutions taken. The Business Committee takes the opportunity to welcome all members back from the recess. The committee is certain that honorable members had a good rest and are ready for business of the House during this meeting. Referrals were made, and we believe that members of the various committees took the opportunity during recess to consider those referrals and will be reporting back to the House. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Order 2162 and subject to Order 67, the committee submits to the House the order in which the business of the House shall be taken during the week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, we've heard the chairman of the Business Committee. Any comments? In the absence of any comments, I put the question. Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw the chairman of the Business Committee attention. If the minister responsible for sports can be programmed, Ghana is participating in the World Cup in less than 2 weeks, and we haven't been briefed as the people representative as to the preparation that is ongoing, and also the athletic competition that Ghana hosted. At the end of the day, a lot of issues were discussed, and if the minister can brief us as a House. Mr. Speaker, we've been told that during the athletic competition that even the timer, when the on track running, the timer was not working. The gun was malfunctioning, the gun that is to set the athletes going. Food, even though the minister publicly commented on some of the food matters. An international standard for athletic competition should be a buffet, but the minister is on record saying that if you want to eat or you want to take 9 eggs, you need to actually request for that special. And we know a buffet, international standard, you don't restrict people what they have to eat. So it has dented the image of Ghana to an extent. So if you can program the minister so that he can brief us on the World Cup and also brief us on the athletic competition. We didn't witness this in all African games. It was very peaceful and everybody enjoyed. But this one, it is with a lot of problems. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the business statement. I want to thank the leader for the presentation, particularly sitting through today to prepare, coming in today to prepare the business statement. Mr. Speaker, looking at the business statement for this week, today and tomorrow, I realize that there is no provision for questions. And we ended the last session with a lot of questions for ministers to come and answer. And many times we didn't get those questions tabled. So though I know this is early days for today, tomorrow, I just want to draw leaders' attention that the members have filed a lot of questions, and we should make sure that we engage the ministers early to prepare themselves and come and answer, so we don't get into the later stages and have a whole lot of questions. It goes the same way with statements. Once we've come back and we still have statements that have been tabled before the House that have not all been received, let's make time out of these sessions and make sure that we get statements and questions addressed. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I crave your indulgence to comment on the business statement presented by the Honourable Majority Leader Mr. Speaker, and to urge the Honorable Majority Leader, whilst I concede that we have constraints relating to time, to use his good offices to deal with a matter which I believe to be urgent. Mr. Speaker, I refer to the xenophobic attacks on African nationals generally and Ghanaian nationals in particular in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, not long ago, there was an assurance that Ghanaians who were willing to be repatriated to Ghana, government was making plans to ensure the smooth repatriation of these Ghanaians. This morning, the BBC reported, Mr. Speaker, that that planned effort has been postponed. And my request to the Majority Leader is if you could get the Minister for Foreign Affairs to appear before this House, hopefully tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, to brief the representatives of the people on the unfortunate unfolding and very disturbing situation in South Africa and what government response is, so we can all have the opportunity to intervene. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, more. First Deputy Speaker. First Deputy Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker. In fact, certain things give me much interest as how a lecture in metaphysics will give to a newborn baby. The Honorable Abu Jinapo brought a question for me today to admit, which question will be transmitted to the clerk and forwarded to the minister to come and answer on the same subject matter. So, such being the case, we need to abide by the question that you have brought to me to admit for the minister to come and then provide the answer. So when we bring the minister by business statement tomorrow to respond to all this, what happened to the question that you have brought to me today to admit for the minister to come and answer?
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, the First Deputy Speaker's intervention is correct, very accurate, and I agree with him. Mr. Speaker, but that was a question about the situation in South Africa generally. Mr. Speaker, the specific matter I'm referring to is that in the light of the fact that the government's planned repatriation program is being postponed, the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, reported on that today. And I think the ministry is even issued a statement to that effect, which is why I say that the matter is rather become urgent, because there are Ghanaians in South Africa who are going through all kinds, and government had given the assurance that they were going to repatriate some 300 Ghanaians who were in dire need of government support to be brought to Ghana. Suddenly, we've been told that that whole effort is being postponed. We don't know why, which is why I say, given the development, it's become urgent for the minister, even though I filed a question on the South African situation generally, to appear before us tomorrow. So we don't get information from BBC. We get information from the government representative, the Minister for Foreign Affairs. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, the chairman will respond to that, but let's take the last two before you come in. Yes.
Speaker, I'm grateful
yes,
for the opportunity. And I join colleagues to commend leader availing himself to present the business statement. We got a prior information that he was not available. We are happy he made time to be here. Leader, if I have your attention, so this is a test business statement just for today and tomorrow. I mean, essentially it's for today and tomorrow. And few observations, though. I'm quite surprised that in the face of the plethora of outstanding questions, we have over 300 outstanding questions. And Speaker, if you may indulge me, we have 60 questions outstanding in the name of the Minister of Health. The Minister of Roads I know Kwame will come and answer the questions, 24 questions. The Minister of Finance has 29 questions outstanding, all put together from the table office. Table office. So we are all put together. We have 304 questions outstanding. And here you are, you have a golden opportunity. We have today and tomorrow. And I am fully aware that your chief whip engage our ministers. I mean, it's a practice. Before the House sits, you engage them to have a sense of business they are bringing. That is what we were doing when we were in government. And I know you are taking a cue from us. That is fine. So you have engaged them, and you are aware of these outstanding questions. For 2 days, today and tomorrow, none of these questions are being programmed. This cannot be acceptable to this House. 2 questions, you are just wasting it in terms of your inability to program any of the ministers to come and answer questions. Why? Today, no show. Tomorrow, no show. Meanwhile, you have over 300 questions that are outstanding. Why? Majority leader, why? Then, on the referrals, the last time you were very agile saying that committee heads are going to suffer punitive measures who are not working on their referrals. You have 291 referrals. This is historic. You are making history. 291 referrals not being worked on. Yeah, I concede I'm also in leadership, but the bat starts with you. All these referrals are outstanding. And here we are, the Minister of Transport, our good friend, is here. He's going to lay another bunch of papers, and he's going to be referred. What is happening to the 291 referrals? It doesn't speak well of this House. We need to get clinical. And the last time you had devised measures that you would advertise these outstanding referrals so that committee heads in question will be called to order to act. Mr. Majority Leader, we want to help you to be responding to your 24-hour policy. But you are not helping yourself. The Majority Leader is not helping himself. 291, and you will not be clinical enough to at least include some of these questions and referral today and tomorrow. And you just come and present this one, and we want us to applaud you. We won't applaud you. You can do better. Then again, because I'm not too old in this House, but I know that if you are laying a paper, you cannot go ahead. You are laying a number of papers, and you are going ahead to program motions to be taken, consequential resolutions to be taken at the same time. What is that? That is wrong. The referral has not even been done. The committees have not even reported, and you are programming motions and consequential resolution. What is that? That's not how we do it. Let them go and consider the referral first, and then the committee leadership can give you a sense of whether they have finished their work on the referrals or not. You cannot go ahead and be jumping the gun and be programming motions to be taken of papers that have not even been referred. That is wrong. And I submit this strongly to you. It's wrong. It is wrong. Chief Whip, it is wrong. I know you will not accept it openly, but in private you tell me that we erred. So Majority Leader. So, Speaker, essentially we are saying that this sitting, and you already have been issued, you have informed us that about 50 bills are on their way to this House. That's fine. We will help. Get ready your winnowing committee. And many of our first-time members of Parliament have shown class and commitment to help in the lawmaking. 50 bills, it is not, you don't just take pride and say, oh, this sitting, we are bringing 50 bills. No, it is not about the number of bills we are bringing. It is about prudent measures we are putting in place to ensure that we pass these bills appropriately. So, and then let's make sure we put in the measures. Speaker, we on this side are going to be very critical in making sure we pass these bills. Now, ministers who are here, This excuse, oh, I am attending conference here and there, we are not going to accept that this time. Oh. If you have questions, come and answer the questions. So we are telling them in their faces, you are our colleagues. And all the excuses. We are traveling to Azerbaijan, I'm going to China for a business trip, I'm going to Afghanistan for a business trip. No, it's part of the business statement. So this sitting, get ready. If the ministers cannot come, their deputies should find their way here. There are ministers who don't allow their deputies to work. Deputies who are here, they can agree with me. You see, my deputy is nodding. Ministers who will insist. You're not the one presiding.
Are you a deputy minister?
Speaker, I can yield to him. He's my friend. I can yield to him.
I thought your comments were going to be comments.
Speaker, I'm just
but
concluding. I'm just and you allow me to conclude. Okay, I can sit down for you to talk.
Let him conclude. Let him conclude, then you can come in. You want, okay.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, please.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Chief Whip. Yes.
He just said for the records that some ministers do not allow their deputies to come and answer questions. Speaker, if we allow this to go in, it's very bad. Please. These are not things we can say for the records. No substantive minister has refused or denied his deputy from coming here to respond to questions. So he cannot say that. Please.
No. He's all withdrawing.
Well, you know, I don't mind withdrawing, but Honorable Eche, there's no problem, but will you listen to me first? Speaker, I will not denigrate the reputation of any minister.
Anyway, honorable members, none of you is a minister.
Yes.
Or a deputy minister. Say leave that and let's move on. If they were here, I would have asked them.
So I will try and conclude.
No, but you are not all here. You are just one. He didn't say all ministers. He said some.
Speaker,
yes.
I know them. But in order not to make matters worse for myself,
Honorable member, is your word against his word.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Speaker, you live long. Speaker, you live long. So to conclude, tell your ministers, Chief Whip, don't say I didn't tell you. If the ministers cannot show up, empower the deputy ministers to show up. It's as simple as that. When the minister is insisting I have to come myself and at the same time attending conferences in China and other places, that one will not take it lightly. And to conclude, these are the takeaways, Majority Leader. These are the takeaways for you. The beautiful takeaways for you. 304 questions cannot be dispensed of with this approach. 2 days being wasted with no minister being programmed for questions. It's a waste. It's a waste in context. Then you have referrals. 291 referrals pending. This has never happened in our history. I'm repeating myself. Emphasis to emphasize. First Republican Constitution, Second Republic, Third Republic. This is the history being made by our Honorable Majority Leader, Honorable Ayariga. Mahama Ayariga. 291 referrals. And you are happy about that. You are happy about that, Majority Leader. You should not be proud about this. We want to help you to dispense of them, but you must help yourself first. Program the ministers and let's get them to come and answer these questions. Get the committee leadership to show leadership in dispensing of all these referrals. Yes, this sitting, we are not going to treat you with kid gloves. Get ready. I thank you, Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me just help the Minority Chief Whip with some basic education on how business is programmed. If Parliament is on recess, the Majority Leader has no capacity to program ministers to come and answer questions. The program is drawn by the business committee the first day that the committee meets. If the public listened to you without hearing me, they would know that you are a member of the business committee. And that you were at the business committee meeting this morning and you never proposed the list of questions. You were at the business committee meeting this morning. You did not suggest that questions should be scheduled. So I'm surprised that you will be making so much noise about questions not being scheduled when you were part of the committee that refused to schedule the questions. What level of righteousness is this? Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that we know how business is conducted. The order paper for today does not provide for the laying of papers and the consideration of those same papers. The order paper for today only makes provision for the laying of the papers. It is the provisional order paper for tomorrow that makes provision for the possible taking of those reports. I was in this house many years before you came, so I know how business is scheduled. I was here many years before you got to this house. So take your time and learn. Take your time and learn. And as for ministers coming to this house to answer questions, you know the rules. The rules are clear. There's a certain period within which the minister has to come and answer questions. So you can't ask the minister a question today and expect him immediately to come tomorrow. He has to come within the relevant rules. And Mr. Speaker, the request for us to bring the minister in to look at the issue of xenophobic attacks, after we have asked the question on the matter, I don't know, because I keep repeating myself that you know how ministers are summoned to the House. Ministers are brought here through questions. You ask them questions, they come and they answer the questions. If they think that it is important to come and brief this House on a policy matter, they will come. And so if you have asked a question, and then when it is being processed, you get up and ask me to summon the minister because it has become urgent. When a matter becomes urgent, you amend your question and make it an urgent question. You amend your question and make it an urgent question. When you make your question an urgent question, then the minister will come based on the urgency as admitted by the Right Honourable Speaker. So go and amend your question and say that it is an urgent question. So if your question is urgent, why do you get up and misrepresent to this House that after you ask your question, some urgent matters arose? So urgent upon urgent. Urgent upon urgent. Very urgent. Mr. Speaker, I believe normally ministers of sport will come and brief the House before any major tournament. And I have no doubt that the minister responsible for sports will come and brief us about the preparation for the World Cup. And as for the issues relating to the athletic competition, I'm sure if you ask the right questions, the minister will come and answer those questions. I have also heard that the audit report on the All-African Games is also ready. I'm sure the minister will bring the audit report on the All-Africa Games for us to consider alongside what might have happened at the recent athletic competition. Referrals. Yeah, I agree with you that we need to take the referrals more seriously and try as much as possible to get the reports to this House. I know that during the recess, many committees requested for appropriation, some funding, to meet and consider their various referrals so that by the time we resume, they will be able to report to us. The Speaker approved funding for many of these committees, and many I know met and considered their various referrals. I believe that they will soon present their reports to us. I am the person who has insisted on committees considering all referrals. In the past, and I've been in this House for a very long time, reports of agencies, departments, and etc. that were laid in this House hardly got considered by committees and reports presented to this House. When you were a leader, it used not to be the practice. But I insist that part of our responsibility is to oversee the agencies. And when we make a provision in an act that they should present an annual report to Parliament, when the reports come, apart from Public Accounts Committee, which looks at the financial issues, the reports on the actual substantive work of agencies is sometimes even more critical than the financing. So that's why I insist that we take our responsibility of considering agency reports serious so that our oversight of the agencies can be more effective. I know members have not been doing this in the past, committees have not been doing this in the past, and it's a new thing that we're trying to get them to do, and it takes time to build the skills and competencies to do it. But I believe that in time, committee chairpersons and leadership will pick up the skills and be able to do that effectively for us to improve our oversight of the various agencies. 300 questions, I believe we'll find a way of considering them. And I believe there will be additional questions during this sitting. But let me also encourage colleagues that in some jurisdictions, they actually ration the questions. They actually ration questions. So, you know, people don't ask questions like how many shrines we have in this country. If you ask the minister how many shrines we have in this country, you know, it creates problems. How does the minister come to answer questions about how many shrines we have in this country? So those type of questions generate problems. I mean, let's take the question time as a very serious business of the House. I think those are the issues that have been raised. Yes, the bills that we indicate we will present to this House, I can assure you that we will take every step that is needed to expedite consideration of those bills. I take note of your recommendation that we should get the winnowing committee a little more active so that we can be able to process bills. Unfortunately, there has been a tendency where we consider a bill, and then by the time we realize, we refer the bill back to the Attorney General, and then we, you know, come and want to withdraw the bill and then relay a new bill. And then we create the impression that we don't consider bills thoroughly, forgetting that this bill was considered, amendments were preferred, sent to the AG, reincorporated. And when it happens that way, if you want to take the bill through the relevant process, it becomes very complicated. And we witnessed that during the last session where I insisted that all those bills should be taken through the relevant processes. It became a bit confusing. So this time we'll avoid those things. And so I urge committee chairpersons that when there are proposals for amendments, let us take it to winnowing committee, let us winnow, let us agree on the amendments that should be taken, and let's come back to chamber and then expedite action on those bills. So we'll take your advice on board this meeting and make sure that we expedite the approval of the various bills. I urge chairpersons to make sure that bills referred to them, they consider them expeditiously and bring them back. There's a tendency to delay until when we are close to going on recess, then you bring back your reports and then you are putting pressure on everybody to stay late into the night to work on the bills. So, Speaker, I think those are the issues that have been raised, and I urge colleagues to adopt the report.
Honourable members. Minority Chief Whip. Yes, please.
Speaker, I'm sorry I have to come back. Speaker, if you may indulge me just a second. Majority Leader, if I have your attention. We are being called upon to adopt a business statement. And I hope I can have the Majority Leader's attention. Then he can get my communication well. Majority Leader, with respect to you, you referenced the order paper and said no motion have been advertised in the order paper. Yes, I am not referring to the order paper. I am referring to the business statement. And I am saying, and I insist, Speaker, for the records, papers are being laid today. The proposal is that papers will be laid today. Then the reports will be taken on Friday. Look at all these papers. And then consequential resolution will be taken. And you are telling me that I should learn. You've forgotten that I'm senior to you in leadership. Majority Leader, I respect you, but you came to meet me in leadership. So this thing about the report being laid today, the report being taken, consequential resolution being taken, it's not practicable. And that's what I'm saying. When we adopt this, are we going to vary it and then, work on it? Then on the flip side, please listen to me. On the flip side, we are complaining that committee heads are not working and bringing their report. Chief Whip, House committee report, and I kept reminding you, let's be fair to the committee heads. House committee report was ready. The report on Arch insurance was also ready. And I kept reminding you, we kept advertising these on the order paper. You never took them. So there are instances where the committee has also worked on the report, and you, as leadership, you don't program these reports to be taken. But for heaven's sake, Mr. Speaker, the Majority Leader should not tell me to learn. I pay particular attention to the works on the floor. And anybody who follows Parliament will know that I'm a diligent person. I follow up. What I'm saying, we can check. So to say that I should learn, I don't accept that.
Honourable members, I don't think that these are matters that you should...
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to draw your attention to something.
Yes, please do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw your attention to something and then seek your guidance. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the business statement, it is signed for, and you see signed for Honorable Mahama Yerga, Chairman Business Committee. And Mr. Speaker, I don't know, he was the one reading or who presented the business statement, but it is signed for him. That's the point one. And Mr. Speaker, I needed your guidance when you read Standing Order 2152. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll read Standing Order 2152. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 2152 reads, a committee shall consider and adopt a report prior to the presentation of the report to the House, and the line 4 by the chairman, and there's no signature or no signing by the clerk of that committee. So, Mr. Speaker, I need your guidance from this. Rather than that, what the majority leader submitted is not properly before it's not properly before this house, and we cannot actually even adopt it when it is not properly before it, and when it does not comply with our standing orders. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I just wanted to draw your attention to something so that, in fact, if you are listening to me, you will have raised this issue. You know, the first one dealing with the issue that the minority chief we've raised are, as you know, standard provisions. I'm sure you were referring to item 2D on the business statement, which is motions and resolutions. Mr. Speaker, motions may be debated and there are consequential resolutions, if any, taken during the week. Is that what you were referring to?
Speaker, if I may.
Yes.
Yes. Speaker, I was not specifically, that is a generic provision.
Yes.
But I was worried about, I was looking at the practicality and the fact that we had to adopt the report as a working document, and we're laying it and at the same time adopting it and saying that report and consequential resolutions will be taken. I'm saying that's practically not possible.
Well, you know, there's a heading. The heading deals with motions and resolutions. Motions and resolutions. So when you debate the motion, you take the consequential resolutions. So that one is a standard provision. Again, what the Honorable Deputy Minority Whip raised is dealing with reports of committees. But what we have now is statement. Is a statement from the business committee. And that is different from the report of the other committees. Because this is a statement. So in the case of the statement, it's signed by the maker of the statement. And now, if for good reason, unless you raise the issue that maybe the person who signed did not get the authority of the majority leader to sign on his behalf, then you're raising something worthy of consideration. But if the majority leader is caught up somewhere and says that, look, we have to present this as a member of the committee, could you sign it on my behalf? It's my statement. It's not a report, it's a statement. And I think that was done. I'm not sure you are doubting the authority of the person who signed the statement. And so statements are different from reports. So this statement, usually the chair signs it. It doesn't need the clerk to the committee to sign, because it's not the statement of the clerk. It's a statement. Is there explanatory memorandum on the business statement? You see, so that's not a report of the committee. Honorable members, please, I take it that the business statement, after the comments and the noting of those comments by the chair of the business committee, the business statement is accordingly adopted. May we move to the next item. The next item, which is 8, deals with statements. I I have not, my first deputy speaker is here, but we have not admitted any statement unless it's been done as an urgent statement which has not been brought to my attention. First deputy speaker, have you admitted any statement?
Right Honorable Speaker, I have admitted one statement, but it is for the processing. So I refer it to the clerk to be processed in order for it to be taken.
Okay, honorable members, so for today we don't have any statement before us. So we go to item 9, presentation of papers. Honorable members, I will now invite you at the commencement of public business, presentation of papers. The following papers will be presented, A, by the majority leader, and if they are ready, Roman 1, Roman 2, Roman 3, Roman 4, and Roman 5 could be laid together if they are ready. Yes, majority leader. Honorable members, the items on the order paper, item 9A, Roman 1, Roman 2, Roman 3, Roman 4, and Roman 5 are laid accordingly, and they all deal with performance reports of the Auditor General on a number of claims, the audit service, and I referred those reports dealing with the Auditor General and the Audit Service to the Public Accounts Committee for consideration and report to the House. The performance report dealing with the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice and the National Commission for Civic Education, together with that of the Electoral Commission, are referred to the Committee on Independent Constitutional Bodies for consideration and report to the House. I so direct. 9. Oh, sorry. My attention has been drawn to the fact that the clerk has not read the report. Please, clerk, you may do so now.
Okay. Special audit report of the Auditor General on government outstanding claims and commitment as at 31st December 2024. Budget performance report of the Audit Service for the period January to December 2025. Budget performance report of the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice for the period January to December 2025. Budget performance report of the National Commission for Civic Education for the period January to December 2025. Budget performance report of the Electoral Commission for the period January to December 2025.
Honorable members, as earlier directed, those reports are referred to the appropriate committees earlier stated for consideration and report to the House. Honorable members, 9B, by the Minister for Transport. With your kind permission, he may lay all together, Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 5 and 6 with just a single bow, and then the table office will read them for the attention of the Hansard office. Yes, please, Minister.
Okay. Bilateral air service agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the Government of the Republic of Benin, relating to the establishment of air services. Bilateral air services agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the Government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, relating to the establishment of air services. Bilateral air services agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the Government of the Republic of Mauritius, relating to the establishment of air services. Bilateral air services agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the Government of the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana relating to the establishment of air services. Bilateral air service agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the government of Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, related to the establishment of air services. Bilateral air service agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Transport, and the government of the State of Qatar, relating to the establishment of air services.
Honorable members, they said bilateral air services agreements as itemized under item 9B are all referred to the Committee on Transport for consideration and report to the House. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to call on all roads and transport. Thank you so much. Let me take the opportunity to call on all ministers, particularly the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Attorney General and Justice, to place before the House all similar agreements and MOUs that are pending in the various ministries. On a number of occasions, we have been embarrassed at various conferences that a lot of those MOUs and agreements are pending in the country and not attended to by Parliament, but they are not before Parliament. And so I'm drawing their attention. Maybe the ministers may not be aware because some were presented long before their appointment, to get in touch with the technocrats to make these agreements and MOUs before the House. They should present them to the House for our consideration and approval. I recall in the Interparliamentary Union Conference in Istanbul, Turkey, there are some MOUs that are critical to the private sector activities in Ghana. And they complain that they've been pending for many, many years. Our country is not signing their part of the bargain. And so they are having challenges in trying to invest in our country. Please, ministers, let us have those agreements and MOU. May we now move to item 9C at page 4 of the order paper by the Minister for Food and Agriculture. Yes, Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the Minister is not in the chamber, so want your permission so that the Minister for Transport will lay the program paper on behalf of the Minister for Food and Agriculture.
Yes, Minority from bench.
Mr. Speaker, we don't have any difficulty, save that the Minister must be ready that when you perform this function on behalf of the Minister responsible for Food and Agriculture, we'll be invoking Order 97.3. So you should be able to explain what you have laid. If you have a capacity to to explain what you are laying, fine. But other than that, when you are done, we'll invoke Order 97.3 on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure the Deputy Minority Whip that the Minister for Transport will be able to explain that it is the policy document on the Feed Ghana program. It is the policy document on the Feed Ghana program. It seeks to set the policy framework. Oh, what is the problem? What is the problem? What is the problem? I'm responding to you. I'm responding to you. I'm laying the foundation. I'm laying the foundation. I'm laying the foundation.
Majority Leader, nothing prevents you yourself from laying the paper. Now, if you have called on the different ministers to lay it, And you are now giving the explanation. Don't preempt it. The
Mr. Speaker,
is
Mr.
capable
Speaker,
of doing it.
Mr. Speaker has varied. Mr. Speaker has varied the application. Mr. Speaker has varied the application. Mr. Speaker has varied the application. I'm saying that Mr. Speaker has varied the application. Well, Mr. Speaker is here, he can give a ruling. He can give a ruling as to whether he has varied the application or not.
Speaker, and the Speaker varies it, yes. Otherwise, but don't forget, 97, there is 97-4.
No, he's giving
So now what is the application?
The Transport Minister will lay the report on behalf of the Minister for Food and Agriculture.
Yes, Minister for Transport, please.
Feed Ghana Program, 2025 to 2028.
Honorable members, the paper is accordingly laid and referred to the Committee of Food and Agriculture for consideration and report to the House. 9D.
Mr. Speaker, I'm told the report is not ready, so we can shelve that for now.
So 9D is accordingly deferred, and item 10, which is motion.
Mr. Speaker, we will not take that today because the Minister for the Interior is not in the chamber.
Honorable members, then what is left is item 11, which is committee sittings. So the committees that are having business before them, you heard your leaders stress on the need to complete your job and refer the reports to the House. Please be guided by Article 103 of the Constitution, particularly those dealing with public bills. 103 of the Constitution gives 106 of the Constitution gives us some time limitation when dealing with public bills. That's what I'm trying to refer to. That is 106, clause 14. A bill introduced in Parliament by or on behalf of the President shall not be delayed for more than 3 months in any committee of Parliament. So it's only sometimes exceptional circumstances that we allow you in handling public bills to go beyond the 3 months, particularly when concerns are raised by the public of the weakness of consultation. So sometimes we go, but don't let it be the practice or the norm that you can handle such bills beyond 3 months. The Constitution is very clear on that. Honorable members, unless there is any other business, I want to bring proceedings to an end. Yes, please. Yes, Majority Leader.
So, Speaker, I need your guidance in this matter.
So let's.
Yes.
We started at 2 o'clock, and it is 5:30, 3 hours. So we'll do the needful. So I move that this House adjourns till tomorrow.
12. Yes, we have a caucus meeting. So
Tomorrow at 12 o'clock in the noon.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the majority leader must understand that when we keep saying you introduce a bill being passed, 24-hour economy, Parliament, we have 3 speakers. First, Mr. Speaker, we have a first deputy speaker and a second deputy speaker. We are ready to do business. You've done only 3 hours, and you said the government have no business anymore to do. Mr. Speaker, what kind of government business are we running? When we today the first deputy speaker he hasn't been able to preside, and we have a second deputy speaker who is there. We can do 24 as Parliament. We are ready to do business, so we want to stay, Mr. Speaker. We want to stay. You cannot do 3 hours and leave the chamber like that, majority leader. You cannot run away after doing 3 hours. Why? Mr. Speaker, why? When you inform Ghanaians that you want to do 133, and Parliament have elected 3 speakers. Parliament elected 3 speakers, and yet 3 hours you say we should go. We are not ready to go. We want to do business.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the philosophy behind the 24-hour economy and the 3-shift system is to create opportunity for those who are not employed. In this case, Mr. Speaker, whatever we do, we can't get other MPs to come and take our place. So we haven't achieved anything by implementing a 24-hour economy in the chamber. But in a factory, if you do 3 shifts, you get 3 different set of workers. And that is the philosophy behind the 24-hour economy.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. And the explanation of majority leader of the 133 was not what Ghanaians were told. It was not what Ghanaians were told. And in other case, Mr. Speaker, it's not working anywhere. So if it is not working in Parliament, it is not a problem. So, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. Is that an honorable?
Well, for us, because we are available, if you have more business, we'll be prepared to do it. But what we have today, we have exhausted it. And so there will be no need for us to just sit because of the 24-hour economy. I'm happy you seconded the motion, so I'll put the question. Those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. The ayes have it. Sitting is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow at 12 noon. Sitting adjourned.